Hello, my name is Miss Holden. I'm the librarian at Minadeo in Linden, and today we are reading from my favorite book in the universe, which is Peter Pan by Barrie. I really love the story, I love the imagination in it, and I also kind of love the humor in this book, which is why I'm going to read you from my favorite scene, where Hook has kidnapped the lost boys and is trying to get some of them to be pirates with him. And it does not go quite as he plans. The wretched prisoners were dragged from the hold, all except Wendy, and ranged in a line in front of him. For a time, Hook seemed unconscious of their presence. He hummed snatches of a rude song and fingered a pack of cards. "Now then, bullies," he said briskly. "6 of you walk the plank tonight, but I have room for 2 cabin boys. Which of you is it to be?" "Don't irritate him unnecessarily," had been Wendy's instructions in the hold. So Toodles, the smallest, stepped forward politely. Toodles hated the idea of signing under such a man, but an instinct told him that it would be prudent to lay the responsibility on an absent person. And though a somewhat silly boy, he knew that mothers alone are always willing to be the buffer. All children know this about mothers and despise them for it, but they make constant use of it. So Toodles explained prudently, "You see, sir, I don't think my mother would like me to be a pirate. Would your mother like you to be a pirate, Slightly?" He winked at Slightly, who said mournfully, "I don't think so," as if he wished things would be otherwise. "Would your mother like you to be a pirate, Twin?" "No, I don't think so," said the first twin, as clever as the others. "Nibs would—" "Stow this gab!" roared Hook, and the spokesmen were dragged back. "You, boy," he said, addressing John, "you look as if you had a little pluck in you. Didst never want to be a pirate, my hearty?" Now John had sometimes experienced this hankering during maths prep, and he was struck by Hook's picking him out. "I once thought of calling myself Red-Handed Jack," he said diffidently. "And a good name, too. We'll call you that here, bully, if you join." "What do you think, Michael?" asked John. "What would you call me if I join?" Michael demanded. "Blackbeard Joe." Michael was naturally impressed. "What do you think, John?" He wanted John to decide, and John wanted him to decide. "Shall we still be respectful subjects to the king?" John inquired. Through Hook's teeth came the answer. "You would have to swear, 'Down with the king.'" Perhaps John had not behaved very well so far, but he shone out now. "Then I refuse!" he cried, banging the barrel in front of Hook. "And I refuse!" cried Michael. "Rule Britannia!" squeaked Curly. It's a patriotic thing British people say. The infuriated pirates buffeted them in the mouth, and Hook roared out, "That seals your doom! Bring up their mother! Get the plank ready!" They were only boys, and they went white as they saw the pirates preparing the fatal plank, but they tried to look brave when Wendy was brought up. No words of mine can tell you how Wendy despised those pirates. To the boys, there was at least some glamour in the pirate calling, but all she saw was that the ship had not been scrubbed for years. There was not a porthole on the grimy glass of which you might not have written with your finger, "Dirty Pig," and she had already done so on several. But as the boys gathered round her, she had no thought, of course, save for them. "So, my beauty," said Hook, as if he spoke in syrup, "you are to see your children walk the plank." Fine gentleman though he was, the fighting had soiled his ruff. That means it had made a mess of his collar. And suddenly he knew she was staring at it. With a hasty gesture, he tried to hide it, but it was too late. "Are they to die?" asked Wendy, with a look of such frightful contempt that he nearly fainted. "They are," he snarled. "Silence all," he called gloatingly, for a mother's last words to her children. At this moment Wendy was grand. "These are my last words, dear boys," she said firmly. "I feel that I have a message to you from your real mothers, and it is this: we hope our sons will die like English gentlemen." Even the pirates were awed, and Toodles cried out hysterically, "I am going to do what my mother hopes! What are you going to do, Nibs?" "What my mother hopes. What are you to do, Twin?" "What my mother hopes. John, what are you—" But Hook had found his voice again. "Tie her up," he shouted. It was Smee who tied her to the mast. "See here, honey," he whispered, "I'll save you if you promise to be my mother." But not even for Smee would she make such a promise. "I would almost rather have no children at all," she said disdainfully. It is sad to know that none of the boys were looking at her as he tied her to the mast. All eyes were on the plank. They could stare and shiver only. Hook smiled on them with his teeth closed and took a step toward Wendy. His intention was to turn her face so that she should see the boys walking the plank one by one. But he never reached her. He never heard the cry of anguish that he hoped to wring from her. He heard something else instead. It was the terrible tick, tick of the crocodile. They all heard it, pirates, boys, Wendy, and immediately every head was blown in one direction, not to the water whence the sound proceeded, but toward Hook. All knew that what was about to happen concerned him alone, and that from being actors, they were suddenly become spectators. Very frightful was it to see the change that came over him. It was as if he had been clipped at every joint. He fell in a little heap. The sound came steadily nearer, and in advance of it came the ghastly thought, "The crocodile is about to board the ship." Even Hook's iron claw hung inactive, as if knowing that it was no part of what the attacking force wanted. Left so fearfully alone, any other man would have lain with his eyes shut where he fell. But the gigantic brain of Hook was still working, and under its guidance he crawled on his knees along the deck as far from the sound as he could go. The pirates respectfully cleared a passage for him, and it was only when he came up against the bulwarks that he spoke. "Hide me," he cried hoarsely. They gathered around him, all eyes averted from the thing that was coming aboard. They had no thought of fighting it. It was fate. Only when Hook was hidden from them did curiosity loosen the limbs of the boys so they could rush to the ship's side to see the crocodile climbing it. Then they got the strangest surprise on this night of nights. For it was no crocodile that was coming to their aid. It was Peter. He signed them not to give vent to any cry of admiration that might arouse suspicion. And then he went right on ticking. That's all we're going to read from Peter Pan for today. If you like it, please feel free to check it out on Hoopla. There are several versions of it on there. I chose the one for today that has some pretty beautiful illustrations. As always, if you do read it and you want to share your thoughts, get a permission from a grown-up and tag us on Facebook with the hashtag PPSReads. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.